What's up guys, Justin here with the RenderingEssentials.com, back with another Twinmotion tutorial for you. So in today's video I wanted to talk through how to use the Rotator Animations function that they added in version 2020.2. So this function is going to allow you to do things like animating doors, opening and closing, other things like that. So let's go ahead and just jump into it. Alright, so if you want to download this model and follow along, you can download it in the SketchUp 3D warehouse. It's the Small Eco Cottage by Vertically Design and Modeling. So if that's something you want to do, you can do that here. Note that I'm not using the direct link extension because in version 2021, I don't think they've updated that yet. The settings are going to be pretty much the same either way. So I'll talk you through the settings inside of Twinmotion. But what I've done is I've basically just taken this and I've just kind of prepped it so that it's ready to go. One thing you want to pay attention to when you're doing this is you want to make sure that your doors are in here as individual groups, right? Or as individual objects. So you want to make sure at some level your doors are in here as separate objects from the rest of your model because you're going to animate them separately. So now let's switch over to Twinmotion really quick. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and import this into Twinmotion. So I'm just going to click on the import button right here. It's going to ask us to go find our file. So we're going to click on open. We're going to go find that cottage file. So I'm going to double click in order to open that up. One thing to note, it's very important that you go down into your options and under collapse, you select the option for keep hierarchy. So that's going to dictate the organization that gets brought into Twinmotion over here on the right hand side. So that's going to dictate how your folders look, but also your ability to select those individual things like your doors separately. And so now what we want to do is I'm going to go ahead and click on Fix UVs and Texture, and then I'm going to click on OK. What that's going to do is that's going to bring this model into Twinmotion. So when I bring that in, I'm just going to right click, rotate down so that we can look at this cabin. And so what we want to do is we want to set this up so that these doors rotate. Right? So when you walk up to them, for example, you want them to open or you just want them to open and close automatically. We'll talk about both options. And so the first thing we want to do is I want to put these doors in place, right? And this is something that you really could do inside of your SketchUp model, but I want to go ahead and close the doors because it's easier to pick the point at which they rotate if you close them. So again, it's probably easier to do this in SketchUp. We can do this real quick in Twinmotion though. And what I want to do is I want to make sure that I've picked up not only the door frame itself, but I also want to make sure that I'm doing a control click and I'm selecting these handles as well. And what I want to do is I just want to rotate this door so that it's closed. So I'm just going to take this whole thing, I'm going to rotate it right here, and then I'm just going to move it in place. So not really a huge deal, right? But what this does is this gives us the ability to see the exact point where this door would rotate, right? Like you're not messing around with some weird angle and trying to get into a corner in order to get the whole thing to rotate. All I have to do now is just figure out, okay, this is going to rotate based on this corner. So now we've got it in place. Let's add an animation object. So to add an animation object, you just want to click on the little arrow right here, and then inside of your library, there's a section called Tools. Well, inside of your Tools section, there's now an option called Animators. So Animators is going to have translators, which makes things like slide, and rotators, which makes things rotate around a point. Well, in this case, we want rotators. Notice how there's some different options in here. There's rotating doors, there's lifting barriers, there's a roundabout. But in this case, we want to focus on the rotator. That's basically an animation object designed to make things rotate. So what we want to do is we just want to click on it. I'm going to move our mouse in, and then we want to place it on the point where our object is going to rotate. So in this case, for me, I want to place this right on this corner. Right? And then I can right click. So when I right click, that'll basically turn this off. And then I can left click on it so that I can select it. And I can kind of check the location, just make sure that it's centered on the proper point right here. And so now we've got the object in our scene, right? And what this does is this is basically an object that you link things to so that things will animate. So what I want to do within this tool is I want to link this to my door object. So to do that, there's a little button right here that says Object Link. It looks like a little chain. What that's going to do is that's going to allow me to click on it, And then it's going to allow me to mouse over an object and click on that object in order to link that object to my rotator. So now you can see how this door is rotating. So we can see that we've done this right, and we've set this up on the corner of the door. So it's working the way that we want it to work. However, let's take a look at some of our options. So the first thing is the door's rotating the wrong way, right? These doors wouldn't rotate in, they'd rotate out. So what we want to do is we want to take our angle here, we want to set this to -90 and hit the enter key. Notice how now our door is rotating outward instead of inward. And then notice how it's kind of like manically opening and closing, right? So it's like open, close, open, close. So the reason for that is because it's set to a ping pong animation. That means that the animation is going to go out and back. So if we click on this, there's a couple other options. There's a loop, which is going to reset it closed every single time, so it just runs the animation all over again. Or there's the option for once. Well, in this case, we just want to set it to once because we don't want it animating over and over and over again. So there's some other options in here as well, like delays and other things like that, but we don't really need to worry about those too much for right now. You can set the speed of the door opening and closing right here. You can also set if there's a trigger. And so if you set this to have a trigger, what that means is that this animation will only play when an action happens to trigger it. So in this case, for example, an action that would happen is the camera getting within a certain distance of the door. So notice how as I move in, the door opens when I get within a certain distance. And there's a more option in here. You can set how wide that trigger zone is, so how far away from the door you have to be before it opens. You can also set what triggers it. So you can set it so that it's triggered by people walking up to it, vehicles driving by it, the camera getting within a certain distance. You can set all of those different things. In this case, we're just going to leave it on multi for right now. And so what we have is we have one door in here that rotates when we get within 3 meters of it. However, we've got a little bit of a problem. Notice how, if you look at this, our handles aren't actually rotating along with this object, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click to get out of this, and I'm going to click to select one of these. And what I want to do is I want to take this door handle, and then I'm going to do a control click and select this door handle, and I am going to drag those into the rotator group right here. So if you look at your rotator group right now, you can see how this door frame, this component 19, is inside of it. Well, we want to make sure that our little handles are inside of it as well. So I'm just going to do a shift click or a control click, and then I'm going to do a control X, and then I'm going to right click and click on cut, and I'm going to go down to my rotator. I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to click on paste here. So what that's done is that's taken those handles and it's placed them inside of the rotator group. Well, now you can see how this door is going to open and close along with the handle. So the things that go inside of the rotator group are going to be animated with that rotation. So let's do the same thing with this door right here. So we're just going to do the same thing. We're going to rotate it like this. We're going to make sure that it's aligned. And we want to make sure that we pick up those handles too. And put this in place. And then we'll just add our animator or our rotator. So I'm just going to click, find my corner, and then click again. Then I'll right click and select it to make sure that it's aligned with the corner of this door. And it looks pretty close. So now let's link them up. So we're just going to click on link, click on this door. You can look at this to make sure that it's rotating properly. And then let's just make sure we're going to turn our trigger on. We're going to set it to once. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to pull these handles. So I'm going to right click, select the handles, cut them, and paste them inside of our rotator. Well, now I've got 2 doors right here that if I walk up to them and I get within 3 meters, the doors are going to open. So now we have an animation where doors will open up whenever you walk up to them inside of Twinmotion. So that's where I'm going to end this video. Leave a comment below and let me know what you thought. Was this helpful to you? Have you tried this new function inside of Twinmotion? I just love having that conversation with you guys. If you like this video, please remember to click that like button down below. If you're new around here, remember to click that subscribe button for new rendering content every week. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. I really appreciate it, and I will catch you in the next video. Thanks, guys.